Hey loves, it's Britt, and in this video I wanted to talk about the natal aspects Mars square or opposite to Uranus. And we just had a Mars-Uranus square. It was about a week ago, but that got me inspired. Like, we had that in the collective transits, and that got me inspired to talk about these aspects in the natal chart. And I am putting the square and opposition together in this video because they're pretty similar, but I will differentiate the two at some point as well because the two aspects are different, but the energy is quite similar. So I'm doing them in the same video, which I don't always do, but I'm going to do it for this one. So these people are a lot of fun to talk about. So I'm really excited to do this video because there's something very exciting about an individual with a Mars-Uranus aspect. Any aspect, but the hard aspects I want to focus on first are these hard aspects, the square and the opposition, because they seem to have the most like punch other than the conjunction. And they definitely show a person who very much exudes an energy that is exciting to be around. And it's very electric, it's very unpredictable. Like, you don't really know what you're going to get with these people. And it's also very magnetizing. I find people with these aspects have a very magnetic or alluring energy. Now, not it's not going to be that way for everybody probably because they definitely rub some people the wrong way, but there's definitely something very sexy about someone with a Mars Uranus hard aspect because they kind of have that energy of like the bad boy, or like, I'm imagining like the guy like on his motorcycle who he's not gonna be told what to do by anyone, and like, they just go their own way. And even the women with these aspects, very much the same. There's a real like, you're not gonna tell me anything, you're not gonna tell me what to do. And then they also, women with these aspects can be very attracted to men who are like, riding the motorcycle, or, even in some cases, it could even be like the criminals, or, the men who are just impossible to tie down. So that's another thing with, how it differentiates in men and women, or, people who identify in the feminine energy or the masculine energy, right? Mars for a man is going to be his masculine energy. It's more, even more so like his masculine ego, how he pursues what he wants. And it's the same for women, but it also can show a lot about what she finds attractive in a man, at least sexually, like the kind of guy that really turns her on. So when we have these hard aspects, there's some tricky stuff going on, and you can definitely see in a woman's chart being attracted to sort of like the unavailable man, or definitely a man that she just cannot control, and not that she would want to with these aspects anyways. But it can get tricky because it's like her own masculine ego is this way, and then that is also what she's attracted to. So it's like, okay, well, if neither of us is going to listen to what the other has to say, then how are we going to have a relationship here? So this actually, even though Mars is not always thought of as like the relationship planet as much as Venus, when you have these you have these aspects in your natal chart, you are essentially very difficult to get along with in a relational sense, especially in an intimate relationship. That is when these aspects come out even the most, is in your romantic relationships. There can be, in some cases, with these aspects, sudden breakups, sudden entering into relationships. Now, it's slightly different than the Venus Uranus aspects, which I've talked about, or I've talked about most of them, in that with Mars Uranus, it's less that like we are attracted to the unconventional as far as like our tastes go, and like that we find that pleasurable like Venus. it's more that our impulsiveness and our inability to be restrained by anyone or anything causes us to have unconventional relationships. So, do you get the difference? It's like a Venus Uranus person actually is like, that's their taste. They like something different, they like something unique. The Mars Uranus person can't help but have something different and unique because they cannot, for the life of them, control their impulsiveness, and their reactions are so quick that, like, when they flare up in anger, um they can end everything in a second and never look back, and it's like they don't even know you, like they just cut you off, right? And so they can have sudden breakups, or and then also sometimes when this aspect is like projected, like if we're not owning this part of us, then it can appear that, especially with the opposition too, because the opposition is classically the projection aspect, right? It can appear that like other people just instantly cut us off. And without a word, people just change their mind, and they just hate us all of a sudden. That's a very common occurrence for people with a Mars Uranus hard aspect, is like all of a sudden you wake up one day and everybody's blocked you or something. And you're like, what did I do? But you probably did something with these aspects because of your your flightiness, your high energy, your inability. It's almost like an inability to like be open to others' perceptions of your actions. And in some cases, now you can have these aspects with other aspects that will help you be more self-reflective, or less difficult to deal with. But like, as a rule, these aspects definitely create an extremely individualistic person. So Mars is like our masculine ego, right? Our drive, our sex drive, our mojo, how we go after what we want, that pure primal, like masculine energy and our strength. And then Uranus is also a very masculine energy, but representing our genius, our rebelliousness, where we do not give a F, right? And like when we combine these two energies in an aspect like this, is kind of like masculine energy on overdrive. Like these people can be overly masculine and like in unable to like yield, right? Like you can't like take the back seat. So they can be very competitive, and this is actually a gift. These are actually really amazing aspects for athletes. And yeah, like people who even competitively, this is really good. Like, or like I said, because like their reactions are so quick, right? And you can even see that when you're interacting with these people. Like they're just like, before you say what you're going to say, or before you do what you're going to do, they're one step ahead of you, and they like already know what you're going to say. So they're actually very intuitive too. Um, but yeah, this can be actually used in a really good way. Like there's a good way to use this energy, and that one of the ways is through sports. And that's actually a really good way to release the pent up energy, because with these aspects, you can, because it's a frustration, especially with the square too. But the opposition, it's still there. It's still frustrating. You get pent up with these aspects, because if there isn't an outlet for this energy, these are high energy aspects. I don't know if I said that yet. Like, these are aspects that produce a lot of energy. This is not a person who is like a sit around and watch TV kind of person. This is like a let's get up and go all day, every day. Like, this can really add energy to like a lazier chart. Like if you've got like, a grand trine, or like, a lot of Venus or something, but then you throw in an aspect like this, Mars square Uranus or Mars opposite Uranus, you're going to see some energy. You're going to see some restlessness. You're going to see some moving around and, activity. Okay. So a really good outlet for that, like I said, sports, where, yeah, you can actually use this for good competition, right? Um, you want to have some sort of outlet like that, something to focus the energy. Um, because yeah, it's actually an insanely high amount of energy that's not really made for like a 9 to 5 or like a desk job or something like that. Like that is gonna make you go insane unless you can move around a lot and not just be at the desk all the time. Like you have to be able to have variety too. Now we should talk about also sexually. So Mars is the planet of our sex drive and how we pursue that, how we go after that. And you're going to want to have some sort of uniqueness in the sex life. Like it's and you might not necessarily seek it out because it's not so much that you even realize that you want this, like with, like I said, a Venus Uranus aspect, but it's kind of like you need it. You need something to be different. You need it to be exciting. You're definitely going to react impulsively in a sexual situation. So that's something to watch out for, is like you are essentially ruled by impulses, especially in this area. So you might end up in some situations and then thinking, okay, how did I do that? How did I end up there? The same thing could happen with your temper. So these aspects are known to be some of the most volatile aspects. Like I said in my brief little transit video, like when these aspects happen in transits, this is when like violent things happen in the world, or like huge disasters, or like, danger. Like these aspects should come with a warning label. So when we're talking about a human and a soul, a beautiful soul, we're talking about you guys here. This manifesting in your daily life is like there is a need, because the square and the opposition show needs that need to be worked out. These are frustrations. These are things that you've come to learn in this lifetime. These are challenges. These are karmic energies, right? And when we have this, it's like there's going to be issues around the temper, around the use of will and willfulness, and also like I said, temper, anger, sex, impulses, and even just general like volatility in the environment can also be an issue. Like, so it's actually common too for a Mars-Uranus person to end up in situations that are dangerous, not because of themselves even, but they just happen to be where, there's a fire, or there's an explosion, or there's someone just got shot there, or so, like they end up in these situations. And sometimes they can actually incite violence in others without realizing it too. Like people get really angry at people with Mars-Uranus hard aspects. And Mars-Uranus people get angry too back, so it does kind of create this cycle. But sometimes it is just like they're just getting attacked by everybody, and they're just like, what did I do? Like, I'm just trying to live. And they don't realize, because Mars is so primal, Mars is so instinctual. It's like they don't realize what they're doing to elicit this reaction, and then they're just like, oh well, I got a show to watch, everybody's throwing pitchforks at me, right? And so it's actually really not funny, but it is a little bit funny, because they're like, what's going on? And I think self-reflection, because these aren't necessarily very self-reflective aspects unless you got other things going on. Mars energy with Uranus and a hard aspect, it's not like, oh, I'm going to go within and meditate. It's less likely that you're going to be interested in that. But it's even more crucial, because you're going to have these problems in the outer world. And not to say that like a little bit of meditation is just going to totally fix them, but having a calm energy, being in a calm state, doing your workout first thing in the morning before you interact with the world and people, like these things, these subtle like changes in your energy can really make life a lot easier, because it's not like everything is because you're attracting it because of your energy, but like by calming yourself, you can avoid a lot of problems. And I think it's especially crucial with these aspects to like have a moment of meditation before you go out and make a major decision, or before you blow up at someone in anger, or even just before you start your day and whatever you have to do that day, just take a moment and anchor some calm, because you do kind of need to come with a warning label with these aspects. These are difficult aspects to have in the natal chart, and people, sometimes it won't even be your fault. People will just react strongly to you, and sometimes they're jealous. Like I said at the beginning, people with these aspects are very sexually attractive to people. They're emitting some very strong frequencies that people like love it, and then they hate that they can't contain you and they can't control you. Um, so it's an interesting dynamic that we have going on. You'll notice that people with these aspects live a full life. They have experienced everything that you could imagine. They have hung out with every type of person, or they've had a sexual relationship here, or they've had violence over here. They have experienced life. And with a little bit of internal reflection, they can end up being some of the most extremely wise people, because they have lived it all. Like, it's not just like, this isn't a Mercury aspect. This isn't like, oh, well, I've thought about it and come to this conclusion. It's like, no, I've actually been out in the front lines of this life thing in every way. And I know a few things now. And with that wisdom, too, it can also help with the impulsive actions, right? Like, you will come to a place of wisdom with this, but there's still going to be an energy of unpredictability around you. And there's still going to be this like allure that you have, which you might not be aware that you have. But there's so many people that I know with Mars-Uranus hard aspect that I'm like, I remember this one girl that I was friends with, and she suddenly stopped being my friend for like no reason too. So that this is just, that could be other things too. But like, there's an impulsive energy, right? Even with friendships or in any situation. But I remember seeing this girl, and like, she was just like the most beautiful woman that I've ever seen in my life. And like, it was like an energy thing. And she had this aspect very close. And I was always wondering like how it manifested. And then I kind of, became friends with her, and I saw some of her relationships too, which were very unusual, or sudden endings and sudden beginnings, and just different kind of stuff. But I was always captivated by her energy, like, just as a woman to woman. Like, I'm not gay, but I'm just like, like, that is an extremely like her light, and yeah, she had the opposition. So, I guess what I'm saying here is like, and there's other people that I know, there's men that I've known too with these aspects. There's like a light and like a flickering, like electric energy around these people. And you like know that it's not forever, like, or you can't control them, you can't pin them down, you can't hold them, but you know that the experience of knowing them and being with them is going to like enrich your life. And yeah, that's something I would say about people with these aspects. There's also a stroke of genius with these people. Like, they can really be inventive, because Mars is action too. So it's not just like genius ideas, it's actual like implementation of genius ideas that are possible with these aspects. So yeah, now to differentiate the two, the Mars square Uranus aspect is probably going to be the more difficult one, because there's more tension, I would say, where the opposition goes in spurts, where they can have some calm and they can have some peace, and then they have a crisis, and they have a, they fluctuate more with the opposition. It's more like a wave of this Uranus energy, whereas the square is like, they're always like buzzing, they're always kind of vibrating. In some cases, you could see with these aspects, problems mentally, with an ungrounded energy, ungrounded perception of themselves. you could see that lead to mental health issues if you have other things going on with this square. If you have this square in like a grand square with other planets, I've seen mental health issues with this square and an inability to like ground your energy to have success in life, because Mars is also like your forward action and like how you get whatever you need in life. And when this aspect is a square, sometimes it can be hard to get our footing, get that, like even get a roof over our head, like root chakra stuff. So it can be very, very, very bad and very difficult, of course, like any hard aspect. But I really think that you guys are here to master this incredible energy, this genius energy, this high frequency energy. And you're meant to be leaders too. Like that impulse to not listen to people, which, you might need to open up your ears, open up your heart a little bit as life goes on. But that impulse to not listen to people and to be like, no, I'm going my own way, is actually a very accurate representation of what you're here to do. It's like you're here to lead, you're here to lay out a new pathway. You're not here to be a follower. Your energy, your charisma, like you are a leader. So that's why, a part of that is truth, that you aren't meant to follow the path laid out for you. You're meant to create your own pathway with these aspects. And like with a Mars square or Mars opposition, it is like you're developing the will, you're developing the ego, and like this is a really hard one to manage, but like you can't shut out Uranus. You can't be like, no, I'm not going to be an individual. No, I'm not going to rebel. Like, no, it will come out. It will come out in weird ways then. It'll be violence. It'll be chaos, catastrophe. But if you can own it, own that uniqueness, own that rebelliousness, let it out through your personality, be your own unique self. Yeah, that's when you can make the best of these aspects. So I'd love to know your experience of these aspects. If you have either one, the square or the opposition in your natal chart, I'd love to know what it has been like for you. You can let me know in the comments, and I'm sending you all the love. Love you guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk soon.